There's a Tesla driving through Austin right now with nobody behind the wheel. No driver, no passenger, just an empty seat. But that's not the crazy part. The crazy part is the 9 million Teslas that still have drivers, because every tricky moment they hit gets sent back to train the same AI. One brain, millions of drivers working for it without even knowing. That's the real bet hiding inside a $1.5 trillion car company. For years, that bet was just a Musk promise, easy to laugh off. But in the last year, it started to look real, and that has split Wall Street clean down the middle. One side sees the most valuable AI company on the planet hiding in plain sight. The other sees an overpriced car maker running on hype. Same company, same numbers, two completely different stories. Start with the doubters. They've heard this dream before. For years, Elon said robo-taxis were right around the corner, and every time the date came and went with the driver still behind the wheel. So most analysts gave up on it. To them, Tesla's just a car maker, now losing the EV crown to China's BYD. So why isn't this story over? Here's why. For the first time, you can actually measure it. When a big update shipped last fall, owners logging their own drives saw the numbers jump. Not a Tesla press release, real data from real cars. Some of that first spike didn't hold up. Progress here is messy, but even after the dust settled, the car was clearly improving. The real question is why, and the answer is something no rival can match. It's called a data flywheel, and it's the real engine behind everything. Watch. When a Tesla driver grabs the wheel to avoid something, the car flags that exact moment. It sends the clip back to Tesla. The road, the weather, the car that cut in, the AI learns from it, and the next update is a little less likely to make that mistake. Now multiply that by 9 million cars on every continent every single day. No one else is close. Waymo runs about 3,000 cars. Mercedes' hands-off system was so niche it got paused this year.
Tesla has its whole fleet feeding one brain. Every odd intersection in Mumbai, every snowstorm in Norway, every tricky left turn in Boston. And here's the part that builds on itself. Every car Tesla sells doesn't just make money, it makes the software smarter. Smarter software sells more cars. More cars feed more data. Round and round it goes. That's the flywheel. And only one company is spinning it, because only one put a camera and a data link in every car it ever sold. And the data is only half of it. Look at how Tesla is actually built. Almost every other car maker buys its self-driving system from an outside supplier, Mobileye or NVIDIA. Tesla builds the whole thing in-house, the cameras, the AI, and even its own custom chips. Designing your own AI silicon is something almost no car maker has ever done. Owning the entire stack means Tesla can upgrade the whole car in a single over-the-air update, with no supplier to wait on and no profits to share. The fleet brings in the data. Owning the stack top to bottom is what turns that data into an edge. It's the clearest tell of what Tesla really is. A car company assembles parts. An AI company builds the brain itself. So the engine is real, but is the car actually getting good? For that, you watch one number: miles between takeovers. How far it drives on average before a human has to grab the wheel to stop a crash. Forget the flashy demos. This is the one to watch. Now, where do these numbers come from? Not Tesla. It won't share its own. They come from an independent site called Tesla FSD Tracker, where owners log their own drives. It's crowdsourced and self-reported, so treat it as a rough guide, not the final word. With that in mind, here's the trend. 2 years ago, the car managed a couple hundred miles between takeovers. By late 2024, around 400. Then version 14 landed last fall, and the early number shot past 9,000. But that 9,000 number is misleading. It came from just a handful of drives in the software's first few weeks. With so little data, a few lucky drives can make it look far better than it really is. So that number was a blip, not the real picture. As more drives came in, it settled, around 1,600 this winter and just under 2,000 this spring. One thing to keep in mind, a takeover means a human stepped in to prevent a problem. It isn't the car crashing. Letting the car drive with nobody watching is a much higher bar. It has to be about as safe as a person, and the average driver goes very roughly 700,000 miles between crashes. So 2,000 miles between takeovers is real progress, with more road ahead.
So that's where it stands today. Where does it go next? Tesla's aiming its next big release, version 15, for late 2026 or early 2027. Elon says it has a shot at being about 10 times safer than a human. That's a goal, not a guarantee, and one to watch as the real data comes in. It's also the version Tesla says it's waiting for before scaling robotaxi beyond a handful of cities. Version 15 is built to run on the computer already in today's cars, Hardware 4. If your Tesla has that chip, you won't need a new car. A more powerful chip is coming too, Hardware 5, which Tesla says is about 5 times stronger. It won't ship in real numbers until 2027. But the key point is this: the next big software jump isn't waiting on it. Now, actions speak louder than promises, so watch what Tesla actually did this year. If a company secretly believed self-driving was a decade away, you'd expect it to stay quiet and keep selling. Tesla did the opposite. In January, for the first time ever, it revealed how many people pay for self-driving, about 1.1 million worldwide. That figure went straight into its quarterly results, filed with the SEC, America's market regulator. Then in February, Tesla pulled the one-time purchase. You can't buy self-driving outright anymore. You subscribe month to month. Why do that? There are two fair reads, and both can be true. A subscription brings in steady, repeat income, and it lets Tesla charge more over time if the software keeps getting better. Either way, Tesla is treating self-driving as an ongoing service, not a one-and-done sale. And the subscription side is growing fast. Of those 1.1 million paid customers, most bought self-driving outright, paying once. Only a minority pay every month, but that group is exploding. Tesla says monthly subscriptions more than doubled last year, blowing past 470,000 by early this year, once it made subscription the only option. Here's what makes that interesting. People are paying for a product they still have to keep an eye on. Picture the demand if the car could actually drive them to work while they check their phone. And this is where it gets big for profits. Right now, cars are a tough business. For every dollar a Tesla brings in, around 20 cents is profit. Software is a different game. Mature software keeps closer to 70 or 80 cents on the dollar. So if self-driving grows into its own software business, it doesn't just add sales. It could make investors value the whole company differently, more like a software company than a car maker. And that shift is the heart of the bullish case. So, the technology is improving and the business is growing. What about the rest of the world? Right now, the supervised version is approved in at least 5 European countries, the Netherlands and Belgium among them, while the big 3, Germany, France, and Italy, are still deciding. Australia, New Zealand, and South Korea already have it, and China has a limited version live. One honest point: almost all of it is the supervised version. You stay alert and you're still responsible. The lone exception is those driverless robo-taxis in Texas. Everywhere else, including the car you'd buy, a human is still in charge. And here's a quiet shift in the industry. For years, there were 2 camps: build self-driving with laser sensors or build it with cameras. The camera-only bet was, for a long time, basically just Tesla. Not anymore. Mobileye now ships camera-heavy systems. China's Xpeng is dropping its lasers. Even Waymo has trimmed its sensor count. Slowly, the industry is converging on the approach Tesla bet on years ago. By now, you might be thinking, Elon's deadlines are almost always late, so why believe any of this? Fair, but look at the pattern. He's usually late, not wrong. Reusable rockets?
SpaceX landed one in 2015 when experts said it couldn't be done. Satellite internet? Starlink now has over 12 million customers. Affordable electric cars? More than 9 million sold.
The goals tend to arrive just later than promised. And here's what's different this time. You don't have to take Elon's word for any of it. The driving numbers come from owners, not Tesla. The approvals are public record. The subscriber count is in an official filing. A new version ships every few weeks. The evidence is all out in the open. So what should you actually watch from here? 3 signals. 1. The driving numbers on Tesla FSD tracker. If version 15 pushes them clearly higher and keeps them there, the story's on track. If they stall, take note. 2. The subscriber count, which Tesla now reports every quarter. If it keeps climbing fast, the recurring revenue story is real. If it flattens, the product isn't winning people over yet. 3. The map. Watch for approval in Germany, France, and Italy, a fuller rollout in China, and whether those Texas robotaxis grow from a few dozen cars into a real fleet. That's the line between a pilot and a business. You don't need to predict the future here. You just have to read the numbers as they land. So, is Tesla really cracking self-driving? Partly. There are driverless Teslas on the streets of Austin today, but the one in your driveway still needs you. The progress is real, and for the first time, it's playing out in the open. But while everyone argues about dates, the bigger story is the engine already running underneath it. Millions of cars making one AI smarter every day, slowly turning a carmaker into an AI company. That's the bet. And it compounds whether Elon's next deadline hits or slips. So don't watch the promises, watch the fleet. Follow along and we'll track it together. One last thing, the content in this video is for reference only and does not constitute investment advice. All investments carry risk. Please make your own judgment based on your personal circumstances.